Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavagai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Vaktum Subodha Vedantam Pravruto Hyabudopyaham Kripaya Yasya Tam Vande Shri Ganesham Punah Punah Vande Saraswatim Devim Sadgurum Me Mahamatim Sita Sameta Shri Ramam Yachantu Shubhadam Matim.
Jivanmuktānandah, Bliss of Liberation. Havu, 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 ha, samagayati brahmajnaha. Havu, 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 ha, samagayati brahmajnaha. Anandam paramanandam. Darshayannaho svatmanaha. Anandam paramanandam. Darshayannaho svatmanaha. The knower of truth sings the Sama mantras. Havu, 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 ha. Thus, he expresses the supreme bliss of his own self. Atma Kridasvatmarati jivanmuktas sada sukhi. Atma Kridasvatmarati jivanmuktas sada sukhi. Punya punya vinirmuktaha sarvananda karoyatihi. Punya punya vinirmuktaha sarvananda karoyatihi. The liberated one sports and revels in the self, ever happy. He is free from merits and sins, and he becomes the giver of joy to all.
Rajesh ji, can you present your discussion point? You just need to come off unmute and Santosh.
Yes, I have unmuted myself, Guruji.
So if you would like to present your discussion, I'm happy.
Sure. So the first question was, I haven't written them down or put a PowerPoint or sharing screen, so I'll just go say it. So the first question, how would you define a liberated person, I think? And we came up with a person who has attained liberation would be extremely calm, have calmness of mind, be equipoised, be non-judgmental, and be a sakshi or witness to what's happening rather than be judgmental. Would not have the concept of duality within him, and would constantly be dwelling within the self. And we give an analogy of a dried leaf which blows where the wind blows, not doing any action, but everything happens with the will or grace of God, and he just goes with the flow. So that was our sort of definition of the liberated person.
Okay, good. Question 2.
Means to achieve liberation. So we said it should start by being a good student. So all the qualities of a good student which have been mentioned, and the preparation that you have to do in the Vedas, starting from calming the mind, controlling the senses, being concentrated, and then going through one of the 3 yogas mentioned, either the Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, which also help you calm the mind, so that then you go on to the Jnana Yoga, where you can decipher the information and reflect upon it and then meditate to get to liberation.
Good.
And then the third question was how can personally put this into perspective to get liberation. So we thought about, trying to be not attached to anything, avoiding strong likes and dislikes. Then obviously, as you think, so you become, so you have the quality of thoughts which are good. Do not have any extra quantity of thoughts which are going to be distracting, and delve into those thoughts so that they all go towards moksha and dedicating one action in the service of the Lord selflessly. So these were what our
Good.
thoughts were.
Thank you. Priya Kondur, would you like to add anything? But you were in charge of a group?
Yes, Swami.
Yeah. Anything to add? Because number 2 question was, how would liberated person interact with others?
Yeah,
Any
please, Swamiji.
further elaboration?
Shall I share my screen, Swamiji?
Yeah, if you like, share your screen. Yeah.
So with the second one, Swamiji, we came up with doing duties without expectations. We were thinking about karma yoga there, and then enjoying the results with Ishvara Prasada Buddhi.
Yeah.
With regular sadhana practice. And the fourth point is Swadhyaya, everyday scriptural studies.
Yeah.
And Namasmaranam came up in the discussion as well. And being mindful, generally being mindful in everyday duties. That is what we came up with the means of to attain liberation.
Yeah.
And with the third one as well, we have a bit of like, we came up with, according to the, like one has to decide, like with the means in the second point, deciding which one of the above means which will most benefit for me according to my role, varna or ashrama or whatever. So deciding that is what a liberated person might do. I don't know. That's what we came up with, which is different from what a normal person would do. And most of all, it's perseverance, because it would not happen in many years or whatever. So being, having that wit to hold on to that one, to anchor.
Fortitude.
Fortitude. And Shraddha. These are the points.
Very good. Good. I think I have a different question written here, which I think maybe was not presented. The question was, how would the liberated person interact with others? I don't know if they got changed maybe when they got presented to you. Doesn't matter. Now, you chanted the verses, those 3 verses, Jivanmukta has been chanted?
Chanted from.
Yeah. So it's interesting, this concept of Jivanmukti. So Jivanmukti meaning one who is enlightened or liberated. Literally, it means liberated while living. So in Vedanta, we believe that a person can attain full enlightenment and moksha while being alive. They do not need to pass away. It is not a post-mortem experience. So Vedanta is very clear on that here and now itself, a person can attain complete enlightenment, not partial enlightenment, and then waiting to die. No, it is complete. Once it's done, it's done. So this complete enlightenment while living is called Jivanmukti. And once that's attained, that's it. There's no more to do after that. There's nothing that needs to be done. When that person's bodies, last week we talked about it, their prarabdha karma runs out. The fan stops and finally stops altogether. Then the body drops, that is called Videha Mukti. This is a technical, Videha means no body. Vigata Deha, having no body. Between Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, for the seeker, there's no difference. At Jivan Mukti itself, goal is achieved. There's nothing to worry about Videha Mukti and all that. That would just be as karma. The fan is slowing down, the fan slows down, it slows down. What's the big deal? He doesn't care. So when we look at this concept, there's 2 ways to look at Jivan Mukti. One, you look at it from the standpoint of a seeker wanting to attain that state. And the second standpoint is like trying to understand the life of a person who has attained that state. So we must be clear about these two things. As a seeker, what will Jivan Mukti be for me? What will be the experience of Jivan Mukti for me? And then, as a student, I might be interested in what is the nature of the Jivan Mukti Lakshana, the nature of a liberated person. Yeah. So I think you've come back with most of your responses. Look, they're all pretty much aligned. But if we look at the verses, it's very interesting. In these, there's 3 verses that are given here. Yeah. In the first 2 verses, there is a very large emphasis on the attainment of Paramananda. The very first, ha, hu, ha, hu, ha, hu, ha, samagayati brahmagnyah, anandam paramanandam, darshayan, aho, swatmanaha. Anandam paramanandam darshayan. Darshayan means anubhavan, experiencing. The whole time experiencing Ananda, which is Paramananda, supreme bliss. Supreme bliss. So Guruji is given, this is the first lakshana of the liberated person, is that they are reveling in bliss. We have seen this again in Bhaja Govindam. It is said there, Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam. One whose mind is Ramate, reveling in Brahman. Nandati, Nandati, Nandati Eva. This is taken from Upanishad actually, where it says, Anando Brahmano Vidvan Navibeti Kutaschaneti. For the one who is realized, they are reveling in bliss. Anandam Brahmano Vidvan. He knows the bliss of Brahman. So as a seeker, now I'm thinking, what is that liberation going to look like? You should understand it only as the complete saturation of Ananda, bliss. That's what it is. It is the complete saturation of. Do not worry about it from other standpoints. What will I do? Will I have to leave my family? Will I have to go to a cave in the Himalayas? Or do I have to serve society and start missions all over the place and train brahmacharis? Don't think from that standpoint. The standpoint of the seeker is that enlightenment is the complete saturation of continuous, permanent bliss. That is it. Yeah. That being the case, Atma Kridaha, that person, Krida means to sport, sports in the self. Atma Ratihi, revels in the self. Sada Sukhi, see again, Sada Sukhi is coming, constantly happy. Immersed in bliss of Brahmananda. Punya apunya vinir muktaha, free of all sin and merit. Free of all sin and merit. Sarvananda karo yatihi. This yati is Muni, sage. Sarvananda karo, giving happiness to everyone. That's what that means. Giving happiness to everyone. He is the absolute embodiment of Ananda. Ananda Murti. Ananda Vigraha is embodiment of Ananda. So anyone who comes near will get Ananda. Anyone who goes into the ocean will get wet because its nature is wetness. Anyone who comes near the Jivan Mukta, he will get Ananda because its nature is Ananda only. Yeah. So we must first look at Jivan Mukti from the standpoint of seekers wanting to achieve it. As seekers wanting to achieve it, you should understand it as one thing and one thing alone. It is complete bliss, permanent happiness. Yeah? Permanent happiness. Therefore, in your sadhana, when you're thinking of what is the goal of your life, what is the goal of your sadhana spiritual practices, you should be thinking that I want moksha because I want complete happiness. That's what I want. It's not that I want moksha so I can finish some jobs or I can become more productive or, life will become easy. No, this is not the reason I want moksha. I want moksha because it is absolute immersion in bliss. And who doesn't want that? That is actually what all of us are working for through every action. Every action we are doing is only to get to happiness. This is a complete immersion, absorption. In all sides, it is it. Brahma purastad, Brahma adastad, Brahma dakshinaha, uttarataha, left, right, up, down. Brahman is everywhere. That's what it says. You must think of a person who is like drowning in an ocean. All around them is water. All around them, in and through them, water, 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 water. For fish that swims in water, the water is also going through them because they are going through that water. All sides, water. Now imagine that water is your Brahmananda. That is what we want only. Anywhere I look, Ananda. In fact, there's nowhere I can look, there's no Ananda. Everywhere, Ananda. So then it becomes completely irrelevant where I am. It becomes completely irrelevant who I'm with. It becomes completely irrelevant what mode of life I have. What does it matter? I am surrounded on all sides by bliss. So whether I am in the city and I get moksha, okay, whether you're in a cave and you get moksha, whether you're with people all around you, you get moksha, or no one is with you, you get moksha. It makes no difference whatsoever. The lifestyle, the company, the people, the place, all are irrelevant because the experience is complete absorption and immersion in bliss on all sides. Okay? So this is what we need to become clear on. What is this state of enlightenment? What is this state of moksha? And as seekers, if we really become clear about this, you will find your motivation to, perform your sadhana, to go deeper into your meditation, deeper into your contemplation. Your motivation will become much stronger, because you want that bliss. You want that bliss everywhere, in all places, all times, all conditions. Desha, kala, vastu, aparichinna. Unconditioned by time, place, or object. That's what we want. Yeah. So Guruji's made it very clear. Anandam Paramanandam. This is the nature of moksha. It is complete saturation in bliss. Now when we look at it, how will that person live? Yeah. Atma kridaha. Krida means to sport. Krida. It means sport, to play. We all know what sport means. But what are some of the aspects of sport? Now, when we say sport, we are not talking professional sports. We are not talking like that, because professional sports are not sports, they're occupations. The person's job. Yeah? So when we talk about sport, we are talking about recreation. What we take up as recreation. It is not an occupation. We are not getting paid for it. Yeah? This is what the word sport means. Yeah? Now, if we look at when we play sport, it is done, one, for the fun of it. It is done for the sake of fun. It is not done for the sake of winning, cutthroat competition, prize money, and trophies. No, we didn't play sport. Now, some people play badminton, they get their friends together, they play badminton. Yeah, so once a week, they play that. And when you play badminton, or you play tennis, yeah, then when you do these things, you are not there coming every Sunday morning to try and sit there and wallop this chap in front of you and ensure that you defeat him. 6 love, he doesn't even get one game on you. This is not, when you go and meet your friends, you do not go with the people who stop inviting you after that. You don't invite this chap, he's a bit too intense. People play, and then after that game, they say, hey, let's sit down, have a drink. So they'll sit in the tennis clubhouse, have a drink, go for coffee and all that, and end up drinking and consuming more sugars and fats than what they burnt off during the sport. Because it is done for the sake of fun. It is just fun. Yeah. So sport means it is done for the sake of fun. In this type of sport, there's no sense of competition. We are just playing to get together, have some fun. So there's no competition. And when there's no competition, there's no pressure. Once you start making things competitive, some pressure is there because there's an outcome. You are seeking an outcome. Your outcome is, I must win. When you have the attitude, I must win, it is no longer sport. It is no longer vihar, recreation. It's not a recreation. In Sanskrit, recreation means vihar. Vihar is another word. Bhagavan Sri Krishna, kunja vihari. One who is having recreation at the kunj, the pond, the glade. Yeah? So, kunja vihari, madhura vihari, rasa vihari, Krishna vihar. So there's no competition here. When there's no competition, there's no sense of pressure. There's also no comparison. When there's no competition, no comparison. One person can hit the ball, the other person can't hit the ball. It's okay. One person some people can only do forehand, no backhand. Some people cannot serve. All these things are there when you play. So this chap, no backhand. This chap, if he hits forehand, he always hits 150 kilometers an hour. Sometimes go outside the entire court, land on the street, and we lose that ball altogether. These things happen. Yeah, but it's okay. It's fun. We bring 10 tennis balls for that match because when this chap plays, 8 of them go outside. We never find them again. It is just for the sake of sport. So no competition. There's no sense of comparison. This is how this person is living. Please understand. The Jivan Mukta, how are they interacting with the world? World is a sport. That means it's for fun. That means with their family, their whole family life is fun. That means work is fun. Occupation is fun. There's no competition, no comparison. Yeah. And when we do sport, the sport is also like a bonding with people. To get together. It's a bonding exercise. Let's get together. That's why I said after the sport, some people spend more time after the sport in the clubhouse or in the cafe. I heard many people go for a walk and that 1,000 steps down, there's a very popular cafe at the top because they go to the top and then everyone just sits around, drinks coffee and then gets their spouse to drive and pick them up and come back down again. I don't know. So, that coffee is more important than actually even the game. Bonding is there. Bonding is there. See, why did Bhagavan take avatar? He said Leela avatar. He wanted to spend time with the bhaktas. He wanted to spend some time with the bhaktas. Bonding. It was a bonding session. Yeah. These are all the elements of sport. It says this person sports. Atmakridaha, in the self. Now, what does it mean? He sports in the self. He sports in the self. Because why? He sees his self as the self of all. Sarvabhuteshu cha atmanam. He sees that myself is the self in all beings. Sarvabhutatma bhutatma. Yeah. That is his vision. I alone am living in the hearts of all these people. Actually, I am only reflected in all of these people. That's how he is sporting in the self. So he's playing with his own reflections. Children do that. When children see mirrors, when they see the mirror, they do funny faces in that mirror. And they do makeup and all the different things and then pull funny faces in the mirror. Why? That funny faces is sporting with themselves. There's no one else in that room. Children also do. They also have no other person is there. They do make-believe things with themselves. So they set up little tea shop, yeah, and then they are the person selling the tea. They are also the customer buying the tea. Because no one else is there. That is called Atmakridaha. And a good parent will not disturb that. Just open the door, say, close the door, leave them. Leave them. Good. You get 1 more hour of peace. Don't disturb Atmakridaha. That child could be Jivan Mukta. We don't know. That's why it doesn't need you anymore. He's already attained enlightenment. Tea shop, tea seller, he's buying, he's the wholesaler, he's the dealer, he's the merchandise, he's in charge of everything, and customer. Atma Kridaha. Jivan Mukta, he sees every person only as himself. Because one self is existing in the self of all. So everyone he comes to meet is just, oh, this is myself only in a different form, different reflection. Yeah. Therefore, it's joy. That's why there's no competition. That's why there's no comparison. How could I compare myself to myself? Me only. You don't get jealous of your mirror. Well, I hope you don't. Yeah. Mirror is just showing reflection of you. It's like, oh, that mirror every morning thinks it's better than me or what? Huh? I'll show it a lesson. Your reflection in your mirror, you should not get jealous of. There's no competition. It is you only. That's how when he sees the world, he just sees himself reflected back. Atma Kridaha. This Atma Kridaha is possible because Atma Rati. Atma Rati, reveling in the self. How does life become a game? How does life become fun? Because the thing which you desire, you have already secured. That's how anything becomes fun. The one thing you want, you already have. Then after that, it's fun. That's why, we try to finish our work, and then after our work, we want to sit there and relax. Why? Because if our work is done, then the thing that needed to be attained is attained. After that, we can relax, isn't it? So we work until 6 o'clock, and then after that, we relax, watch some TV. Yeah, and we watch some TV, that's it for fun. There's nothing to be achieved. There's nothing to be achieved through that. Now, this person has attained Atmananda Brahmananda, bliss of Brahman, which is bliss of the self. That Anandam Paramanandam, supreme bliss, is myself. It is me. I am that. So when that person is, I am that supreme bliss, then in any action or interaction, what are we trying to achieve? We are only trying to get happiness. And guess what? I am that happiness. Therefore, my action has got no purpose. Yeah? There is no goal to be achieved. Why? Because the thing that I want so desperately, I already have. So, because he is reveling with that fact, Atmarati, 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 I am that self. Then he Atmakridaha, everything becomes fun. Now, people do experiences, like I said, say you have to do some big presentation, and based on this presentation, you're going to get promotion. Now, prior to the presentation, there's stress, tension, serious focus. And then once presentation is done and boss says, fantastic, you have the job. You got the promotion, we're giving it to you. I just spoke to directors, done. Paperwork is coming, just sign. Now that night when you go home, what happens? You're so happy, isn't it? You got what you wanted, Atmarati. Oh, that's not Atmarati, that's Jobrati. You are reveling in the new job that you have. Now, once you are reveling, you are so happy. Now when you come home, and guess what? Your 7-year-old child hasn't changed out of school uniform. He's sitting in school uniform for 2 hours. Yeah? Bags are scattered all over the house, dirty shoes tracked in through the house. Someone is screaming with the mother, someone is screaming with the brother. There's stains everywhere, things all messed up. Do you care? You just come back and tell everyone, come on, let's go for a drive. Why don't we go for a drive? And someone say, what drive? We need to clean this whole house up. Such a mess and pigsty, and please tell your son to put away his cricket bat. He leaves it there all the time and we'll trip over it all the time. Life is too short. You become very philosophical, great sage you become. Life is too short. Why? They're children only. Let them enjoy. Come on, let's go. Go for a picnic. You go from it. Now what happened? Your life become Krida only. Why does it become Krida? Because you got what you wanted. You got your job, you got your promotion, and now with everyone else, it's just fun. It becomes like a fun only, Krida. You're not so bogged down with these anxieties. This is how the Jivan Mukta lives. Because Ananda Paramananda is secured, everything in this world is just a game. No objective. Just for the sake of meeting and mingling, and just for the sake of fun. Leela. It is just Leela Vihar. Oh, that's all it is. Life becomes like that. So this is the experience of Jivan Mukti. Because sometimes people, when they have a very strong karma vasana, strong sense of doing things, they have a question. This question comes that if you become enlightened, if you gain enlightenment, then Swamiji, what do we do after that? People have this question, what do you do after enlightenment? People ask Guruji this question a lot. What do you do after enlightenment? Because they're so used to having a program. They're so used to having a to-do list that even after enlightenment, they're keeping their to-do list. So what is my new to-do list? So Swamiji, when I gain enlightenment, make sure I have a to-do list. Don't worry. If you want to take your to-do list and keep it, you won't gain enlightenment. So don't worry about it. As long as you have a to-do list, there will not be enlightenment. That is the nature of it. Enlightenment does not allow to-do list to come along. Tasya karyam na vidyate. There's nothing to do when you're enlightened. So if you want to keep your to-do list, keep it. You won't get enlightenment. Therefore, this question becomes irrelevant. And if you're happy to give up your to-do list, you will gain in enlightenment. Then this question also becomes invalid. So either way, the question becomes invalid. So the nature is that life just becomes complete revelry. Jivan Mukta Sada Sukhi is always happy. Punya Punya Vinirmuktaha. Punya Punya Vinirmuktaha. Freed of all punyam, merit, apunya. Apunya is another word for papa, sin. Completely freed of sin and merit. Now, why is this important to state? First of all, how is this possible? It is possible because all sin and all merit must be connected to the ego. The ego is the base of sin and merit. The ego is called the jiva. So all punyam has to be assigned to a jiva. It cannot just sit there and float around. Punyam has to be assigned to a jiva. Papam has to be assigned to jiva. Now, when you become enlightened, what happens? There's no jiva bhava. Jiva ego is gone. Because there's no jiva bhava, that punya cannot be assigned to him or her. Or papa cannot be assigned to that liberated person. Because there's no ego. To gain punyam and papam, you must have an ego. And liberated person has got no ego. Therefore, cannot have any sin and merit. Now, in traditional Shastriya Bhashya, punya means those actions which are going to give you a result which can lead to higher birth and attainment to higher lokas. Swarga loka, heaven, is a punyam. And you have to do particular karma. It is not just doing, not like be nice, be good. It's not like that. There's particular actions you have to do. They're called punyams. Yeah. Feeding your child a meal is not a punyam. You have to do a proper, there's particular Vedic karmas which have to be done. They're called punyams. Either called to smriti or shruti. Yeah. Then papa is obviously in the one, neglect of our duties. And also when we take up someone else's duty, that's also papa. So not doing your duty is papam, and doing someone else's duty is also papam. Paradharma. It's called paradharma. Others' dharma. This is what Sri Krishna was trying to save Arjuna from. Arjuna wanted to take up someone else's dharma. Bhikshu dharma. But he's a Kshatriya. He got Kshatriya vasanas. So if he got Kshatriya vasanas, he should not do Bhiksha dharma. But he wanted to do that. And Krishna said no. Because for you that become papa. For Arjuna that become papa. That's not his job. So sin is created when one, I don't fulfill my own duty. Two, I do another person's duty. Three, I do prohibited actions. Certain actions are not supposed to be done, I end up doing them. That's also called nishiddha karma. From this you can gain sin. Now, the key about sin, please understand, sin is not something floating out in the air that's going to come and hit you in 50 years. It's not like that. This sin finally enters into your vasana kosha. It goes into your subconscious mind. And in that subconscious mind, it starts disturbing you. So whenever I commit a sin, there is a residue, a mental residue, which now disturbs my mind. That mental residue can be in the form of guilt, regret, selfishness, so many different things it can come. Anger, frustration. All this is mental residue, which sits in my mind. And because it sits in my mind, it disturbs me. It disturbs me. Therefore, Gurudev said a very nice statement. He said, we are not punished for our sins. We are punished by our sins. God is not looking at you and counting how many sins you have done and then said, now this chap, I must throw a lightning bolt at him. Ping! It doesn't work that way. As we act, and whenever we are outside our dharma, that means outside the laws of harmonious living. Either I have taken up somebody else's job, I am not doing my job, or I have taken to forbidden actions, then a mental residue, regret, selfishness, narrow-mindedness also, ignorance also, confusion, all this starts as a residue starts being left on my vasanas. And this residue is what causes problems to me. You know, it's like when we drive our car and we drive in muddy areas and a lot of dirt gets onto it. Now, as that dirt comes onto the windshield, if you don't clean it, it just keeps accumulating. And as it keeps on accumulating, finally, you can't see anything. And you can't see through the windshield because there's so much dirt and mud that's been accumulated. Then eventually what happens? You meet with an accident. Isn't it? Because you can't see. Same thing with all these residues that are being left. I can't see life clearly. I can't see what I'm supposed to do. I can't see where I'm going. I can't see how I am hurting others. And then eventually, boom, it will come to you in the form of some event that is a little bit, has to shake you up. So that event which is shaking you up, some people say, oh, my papa has come. That's kind of correct. It's not incorrect. But really what's happening is your papa is coming in the form of all these small impressions, disturbances, and residues that are making your vision of life very clouded and unclear. And it's finally that lack of clarity or that selfishness, yeah, that finally causes you to have an accident. And then life throws an event which is a bit jarring. So what just happened? But this is how sin works. And of course, with sin then comes this factor of holding on to guilt. We get caught with guilt. Yeah. And about guilt, guilt and regret are different things. A healthy person should have regret, but a healthy person will not have guilt. Regret is a sensitivity. When you have done something wrong, there's a sensitivity that comes out in you that says, "Ooh, I've done something wrong." Either I said something was too strong and that person's reaction was like, oh, they were very wounded and hurt. Then you realize, I should not have said that. Yeah, that sensitivity should be there. That we sit there and say, okay, in future, I should not say these things. I should not bring this topic up. Sensitive issue. This always happens. We can never figure out what is sensitive to everyone that we meet. So we always end up, you know, some people like cracking jokes. They crack a joke and then 1 person out of 10 is always offended by that. And it's very hard to avoid that if you're a person who tells jokes. The only other thing is don't tell jokes. If you don't tell jokes and people sometimes think you're a very boring person. But anyway, that's a different story altogether. But it's very hard to live without occasionally transgressing or hurting someone. And some people are a bit too sensitive as well. So you will have regret because like, okay, I went too far, crossed the line. Now in regret, there is a recognition that my action has caused pain to someone or has crossed the boundary. But there is no feeling that I'm a bad person. The feeling that I'm a bad person does not come. So there is no self-deprecation. There is no lowering of one's self-worth or self-esteem. It is merely an acknowledgement of an action which caused others harm or caused me harm. It's an acknowledgement of that. That's called regret. And for a person who has regret, because they don't feel they're bad, they then maintain the strength that I will not do this again. I understand this should not be said to this person, therefore I will not mention this. I also understand that this action is causing me problems, therefore I will stop it. So the person who has regret also maintains this strength and power to change and correct. In guilt, yes, there is an acknowledgement, I have gone too far, I've hurt people, but in guilt, there is a self-deprecating thought that comes in. There is a thought that I am useless, I am hopeless, I am a fool, I am incompetent, I am not worthy of love, I'm a terrible person. This is called self-deprecating thought, putting yourself down. When this thought is there, it weakens the individual. It weakens the individual because the individual feels, I am bad, I am a fool, therefore I am not smart enough to say the right thing. I am weak, therefore I am not strong enough to do the right thing. I am mean-hearted, therefore I am not courageous enough to love others, forgive others. So guilt has got this element of self-deprecation. Our sins, when we continually perform them, they can lead to this guilt. I'm a bad person. I'm a terrible person. I'm a useless person. That's very paralyzing. Here for the jivanmukta, that person, their definition of themselves is, I am supreme bliss, I am infinite. So even if an action inadvertently hurts someone, they don't feel that I am a terrible person. They don't feel a terrible person. They may correct their ways. Okay, now I know, don't do this again. Yeah, but they don't live and carry that burden of being a terrible person. It's the burden of being a terrible person which is what weighs us down. That weighs us down. Being a failure, being a fool, being selfish or inconsiderate. This is called sin. The jivanmukta does not have, it rises above this because the concept of self has changed permanently. I am infinite. Well, I am infinite. I am bliss. Oh, concept of self has changed. But they will have sensitivity that if their behavior is upsetting people, if it's too strong what they're having to say, they tone it down. They tone it down. Yeah. If a teacher is teaching, a student cannot catch up or follow what they're saying, teacher slows it down. Teacher can change the whole teaching style because student cannot keep up with it. Yeah, all this is seen. Great Mahatmas, we see that even over their period, they change their styles actually. They change what they do because sometimes they find that, okay, student is not able to do this, keep up with this, manage this, okay, we'll change. Yeah, it's too hard. So in this way, punya, apunya, vinirmuktaha. What is the nature of punya? That was the nature of papa. The nature of punya is that people get excited. When we do something good, there's anticipation that a very joyous result is going to come. Yeah, it's like if we do exercise, then we feel that our blood pressure should be better and our cholesterol should go down. There's anticipation because I did so much exercise. So my cholesterol should go down, and then you go for test, and the test says cholesterol come higher. And say, how did that happen? You get very disappointed. So in punyam, there's anticipation of reward. This anticipation also is a problem. Yeah, because if you don't get the reward, what happens? There's even greater frustration, for a dejection. What's the point of exercising? I did all this exercise, nothing ever happened, but waste my time. So punyam is connected to anticipation, papam is connected to guilt. Free of both. If a person is free of both, where are they living? Not in future anticipation, not in past guilt. Dynamically, wholeheartedly, in the present moment. That's where they're living. And when you live dynamically, wholeheartedly in the present moment, you are able to become sarvananda karo yatihi, able to bring joy to everyone. Okay. But here, to be free of punya and papa is to be free of past and future. And living dynamically, wholeheartedly in present. Okay. So now I have explained just up to here from the standpoint of the seeker. We have not yet explained the standpoint of the master. I'm going to take that later. We've run out of time, so we'll close for today. But next week we'll continue on this topic, and next week maybe no discussion. I will just have to continue on. This week you practice in your sadhana, just really in your meditation or whatever sadhana practice you do, you practice understanding that moksha is a state of complete immersion in bliss. Just keep remembering this thought. It is not a place of going somewhere. It is not a place where you become free of actions or free of responsibilities. It's not that. It is a state of being where you are immersed in bliss. Thus, it is irrelevant where you are, who you're with, or when it happens. Like, Desha kala vastu, time, place, and object. All these are irrelevant. Here and now, you can have. Okay. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamadakite, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishyate, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah. Hari Om.